I got really, really good at the wrong thing, in my opinion,
Oh.
meaning that technology was my bag,
Mm.
and probably shouldn't have been. That's a whole other story. But what I ended up doing was going to, here I am, wanted to be an entrepreneur. My parents from Italy are telling me, you know what, you don't need to be an entrepreneur. That's high risk. You need to get a job is what you need to
Mm.
do. So they pushed me into getting a job as opposed to being an entrepreneur.
Mm.
I pushed on with school, a couple of master's degrees, undergrad engineering, all that fun stuff. And I go work at these companies. Part of it is my fault for not really working at the right companies. Some of these
Mm.
companies I worked at were really, really terrible companies, terrible people. They didn't really vet out. Probably should have done a better job managing my career.
Mm.
But other times, is like, just working in corporate America, it wasn't for me. It just wasn't for me.
Right.
And, where all you're doing is running a rat race. And there's many, many people out there right now. They do very similar things. They just do enough to stay in their crappy job. And that's what I was doing. I was one of those people. And eventually I'd say about, it's like I was here I am, Inc. 500 CIO. I rebuilt the entire infrastructure for this publicly traded company. I was still a young guy. I was in my 30s, and changed the entire face of the company. Company decides, you know what, we're going to change direction, and hand me the box, tell me to get lost. They did that with the entire management team.
Right.
We need to fresh blood, all this other horse crap that these companies come up with. And now what am I going to do? I had this giant mortgage, 2 cars, all these different things. I'm living to living the standard that most people should not be living. I was doing that just like many, many other people are doing today.
Right.
And, you put you put a crippling divorce on top of all that stuff. Next thing you know, you're pretty much wiped out, and that's where I was. And for 10 years, I tried a variety of different things to try to really get on solid ground. Now, the one thing that I did do while I was working at that company was I started investing in single family homes. And even throughout these 10 years of hell that I went through, the one thing that no matter what was happening in my career life, trying to build a company or trying to work with other people, try to make money, was this small portfolio of single family homes is always kicking off some money, no matter what. And I'm like, so here I am, and about 10 years later, when I go talk to this friend of mine here about syndication, I'm like, you know what? This single family thing, I mean, no matter what, this single family, this real estate deal was throwing off money despite all this other problems that was going on in my life. I was always getting a check, right? And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do that. So I walked away from a 6-figure, big time C-level career to start all over again, to start at zero, basically. It was basically at zero, and so, and I'm condensing here because I know for sake of time, but I'll tell you that by using extreme focus on self-improvement, learning how to underwrite deals, learning how to network, getting in front of the right people, and demonstrating value to those around me is what really helped grow to what we have today. Now we manage well over $200 billion worth of assets. This is all like, and I'm not talking, nothing wrong with being an LP. These are GP deals that I've put together with my partners, right? This is what I'm doing. It's not, so this is what I'm talking about.
Which is a lot of work.
It's a whole different scenario here, right? Not that I'm knocking the other stuff, but it's kind of like, but you learn a lot when you do all that stuff, right? You learn what not to do, what to do, how to put deals together. But now we do multifamily assets. We buy stabilized multifamily assets, A, Bs, mostly C stuff historically. We do development where we do either ground up development or historical developments. So one of the key projects we're doing right now is the Rockefeller building. It's John D. Rockefeller's old office in downtown Cleveland. It's where I'm at right now. And then the third aspect is the net lease property fund that we've recently launched, where that deal is we're just acquiring single tenant net lease assets to have a corporate guarantee backing it up. So between these three things, we've been able to build a solid business that cash flows and is doing remarkably well. And I think back to my career as an IT executive, as much fun as it was early on anyway, before I failed, I would never do that ever again. I would never go back. I would never go back to corporate. No way, no how. I would never do it. I would never do it. I just love what I do now, and life is amazing now. So it's great.
That's awesome. And so I know that you are very experienced with new builds as well as multifamily. How did you decide to kind of I wouldn't say switch a career, but like expanding your portfolio into different type of assets, such as net leases and new builds, etc. And how does that tied in terms of our economy outlook, in your opinion?
Yeah, sure. No, it's a great question. I mean, part of what we have to do as entrepreneurs is pivot your business. You have to be able to pivot, right? And look to see what's coming, look to see what's trending. Mm-hmm. And when I chose Cleveland and the Cleveland market to really invest in years ago, and when I say invested, I'm saying to buy C-class multifamily stuff, older stuff, usually 100 units, somewhere in that range is what we were targeting back then. It made sense. Why? Because everybody had eyes elsewhere. Okay, everybody's buying the same sort of product, if you will, C-class, but they're paying like double of what it would cost here, So it's like you're able to buy stuff for $25,000 a door for a nice C-class asset, right. rents for $500, $550 a month, maybe even less than that. It's dirt cheap. But I knew that at the time, Cleveland was still well behind the recovery that the rest of the country had experienced. And right. I'm talking like about almost 5 years ago now, right? And I saw that. Meanwhile, as we've gone on since then, that same asset that we currently even own today is now more than double of what we paid for in terms of right. value. And
the base is very low. Yeah.
Exactly. So where cap rates are at now in terms of, where the market is, in terms of where the debt is, really the debt that we got on these properties is very similar to what we get today, actually, right. because we have really good relationships in place already. But I look and I'm like, I know I cannot justify the type of rent income versus the cost per door and the renovation and the cost to renovate, the time to renovate and the cost to renovate, especially today. So it's kind of like I can either take that renovation budget, if you will, throw it at an old 1960s build, or I can take that same renovation money and throw it at a brand new property. Right. What's going to get more rental output, right? Right. So as I look around, and I look at development as an option to help really round out our portportfolio. I'm like, the cost to doing this, I can get really good terms on debt. I'm building a nice property that's going to have very little in terms of, renovation. Obviously, it's going to be brand new. Right. It depends on the project, of course. And you don't have to really worry about upkeep because it's going to be brand new, right? There's right. not much in the way of upkeep. Right. It made sense, it made sense at the time. So we pivoted our business to include more development than acquisition of stabilized assets. And we just finished an acquisition I don't know, last month or something, or a month and a half ago. Yeah. And nowadays people are trying to now trade that same sort of asset for more than what we paid, like for that right. one on a cost per door basis, and the rents are about the same. And I'm like, I can't pay that. No, I just can't do it. Right. It's if I do, I fear that I'm not going to be able to get the return targets that we want to hit. So we just won't do it. That's the difference between how we do business versus some of the other guys. We don't collect acquisition fees, so we're not under pressure to like, hurry, we gotta buy this stuff right now. Either I buy it or I don't buy it. I don't care. I'm not going to get into a deal that I have to stress out about. I just won't do it. Yeah. That's how I'm able to continue scaling that side of the business. But right now, and we're still opportunistic, but now the focus is more on development, and we're trying to be very careful about what we're doing on development now, so it's all, I would say it's all, B plus, A minus type of product that we're building, and the difference is like, these it isn't like these things have these apartments or whatever that we're building have like pools and courtyards and all that stuff, but they have nice amenities. They're nice,
Right. Yeah.
And they're shorter build times. They're about 12-month build outs. So we're trying to keep it somewhat tight in terms of the build time, so we can easily get it completed, get the lease up done, return money to the investors, and then cash flow it. Right. That's what we're trying to do in a very short amount of time. So just because I am concerned about the economic outlook in general. So I want to be able to get into a deal and turn it around as quickly as possible, or build it up as quickly as possible, So, and all of our projects are like that, with the exception of the Rockefeller. This is more of a 2-year project. It's a much larger project, but the plus side is that it's directly across the street, right behind me, actually, from Sherwin-Williams World Headquarters. It's going to be right next door to us. It's going to be like 6,000 jobs right next door.
Right.
We'll be fine. I'm not worried about it.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's iconic a building as well.